So again, this will be a lab work on chapter 5 and 6. Hopefully next week, after the review of the midterm, then we will start chapter 7, which will be object-oriented programming. We'll go more details on that. And previously on chapter 3 and 4, they teach us the concept of classes and objects. But now in chapter 7, we are going to write our own class, user-defined class, etc. So let's go through the lab work here. So our first question here said we should find the factors of an integer. So for example, if a user enter 120, we need all the factors of the minimum values, the factors in increasing order. So 2, 2, 3, 5. Again, we do this in college algebra. How do we find the factors of a number? So for example, in college algebra, if it's 120 even number, I can start with 2. So I'm going to say, well, 2 times 60, because 2 is the minimal factor we can get from a number. And then 60 is an even number. So I will divide 60 by, 60 by 2, which will give me 2 times 30. So I get 2 2s and 30. Then the same thing, I'll divide 30 is an even number, so we can get 2 and 15. Then when we reach 15, 15 is a odd number, but we can get 3, 5. So that's why our result here is 2, 2, 2, 3, 5. So we should just think about how we can solve this in college algebra, the same way we will let the computer solve it for us. So this means we are going to use a loop. Then also we have to check, always we use the remainder or the modulus operator to get the remainder. So if I'm looking for a factor of some number, if I divide that number, the factor by the actual number, of course, the remainder will be 0. For example, if I divide 3, 5, 2 by 120, 120 by those 3 digits here, the remainder is 0. So that's the whole concept here. So again, here we have the main function. And also we have our class name is exercise 05_16. We have the main function. Since we are going to ask the user to enter the input, the value that we have to look for the factor of it, again, we create our scanner object name input. Now, this is another option, as we said earlier. Instead of importing the Java utility package, we can just import only the scanner from Java utility package and writing everything in one line. Or if we like, we can start with the import java.util.scanner or .util asterisk. That is to import all the classes in utility package. So here we decided to import only the scanner class. So we use the scanner class to create our input object. Now we are going to use the input object to get the input from the user. Now we are using the next int because the input we are going to get will be a whole number or an integer. We declare variable name number, then we assign the user. Again, this we are going to use the keyboard to get the input, and we're going to store it in a number. So let's say we enter the number 120. Now this is the section that will find the factors for us. So here, first of all, we know that 2 is a factor. So we declare variable factor and we assign 2 to it. Now we say that if 2 is less than or equal to a number, then we can get more factors. If it's less than 2, then we cannot get any factors no more. So if the number is less than 2, that's the highest. So if the number, let's say, is 10, yeah, then maybe we can get 2 and also we can get 5. So now we have to go through the process. As we said earlier, the factors and the numbers will be divisible by the actual number. So we start with, if the number we enter, let's say we enter 120, we are looking for the factors of 120. So if we say the 120 modulus 2 is equal to 0, then we are going to again divide the number That's if this condition is true, which means the number is an even number. So that's what we started with. 120 is an even number. So in this case, we are going to divide the number by 2. Then the result we assign to number. Then we print the factor. We're going to print the 2, the first 2. Then when we print 2, we want a space between the numbers. So we print 2, then we have a space. And now, since the condition is true, we're still going to do this over. So we go through the values, and now the value has reduced. Remember, we have 120, we divide by 2. So now the number is 60. So we compare factor, is it less than or equal to 60? Yes, 2 is less than or equal to 60. Then we do the same thing. Divide 60 by 2, then we get, so that's what we are getting, the 122. And I think when we read this section, we have 15 left. So this is where we will do our condition here. So it's 15 less than or equal to 2 years. But when we divide 15 modulus 2, or when we divide 15 by 2, the remainder is not 0. So this condition will be false. So when this condition is false, means we will come here. Then else, we increment the factor. Then we go back again until this condition, if the while condition became false, then we have to come out from the while loop. Then we print a line. But already we have already printed all our values. System.out.print factor plus, this will be printing our values for us. So for example, if we run this program, well, let me wait for a few seconds if any question with the code. So again, the first section of the code here is to get the input. And this is the section to, again, to do our factors, to find all the smallest factors of the integer. So the smallest factors, we are going to use 2. Start from 2. Okay, so let's run this code and see. First, I'm going to compile it. And I'm going to enter the same 120 again. So we should get 2222, then 35. And it's in increasing order. Okay, so if no question, let's try another question here. Let's go to the sum even. So we have another code here. Here we are going to write a program that will find the sum of even numbers. So here they say we should compute and print the sum of even values between 2 and the positive value that the user enters. So again, let's say, for example, the user entered 150. Then we are going to find the sum of even numbers from 2 to 150. So the idea of this code means we need to use, again, a loop. The best loop to use would be a for loop, because we know, based on the value the user enter, we know how many times the loop will execute or where it can end. So again, we have our main method and also the main class at the top. So the first thing, we declare variable name sum. We make sure it's empty, there's nothing in. This is the variable that will give us the accumulated result sum of all the even numbers from 2 to whatever number the user enter. Then the user is going to enter the value into a variable name value. So the first thing, again, this time we import the package for the scanner class, utility package. So we create, again, the scanner object, and we use the object to enter the input. So let's say the user enter 50. We are going to check, is 50 less than 2? No, 50 is greater than 2. So this means our statement here will not print. But we know any number less than 2, we want positive result. So if user enters 0, then we are going to say that the value must be greater than 2. Or if user enter -40, any value that is less than 2, we are going to, other than that, if the value is at least 2 or more than 2, then we will go through a for loop to calculate the sum of even numbers. Let's say the user enter 50. So we are going to look for the sum of even numbers from 2 to 50. The value will be 50. So our counter will start from 2, and we are going to increment by 2, since we are looking for only the sum of even numbers. So from 2 to 4, 6, 8, etc. Then anytime we go once through the loop, we are, so first of all, our sum will be 0, the initial sum. Our first count is 2. So 2 plus 0 is 2. We increment the counter to 4. Then our previous answer was 2. So 4 plus 2 is 6. We increment the counter to 6. 6 plus 6, 12. We increment the counter from 6 to 8. 8 plus 12 is 20. So we keep going until whatever the value the user enter, we reach there. That will make, excuse me, that will make this our condition, and the loop will stop because the loop will go up to the value. So if the value is 50, we increment from 2, 4, 6, 8, all the way to 48. Then 50 is 50 less than or equal to 50, yes. Then next it will be 52. When we reach 52, we stop, then we give the result of the sum. There's another way we can read this program also. We can increment can start from 1 to anywhere the value is, but we are going to write a condition that if the count modulus 2 is equal to 0, then we are going to do the sum. Else, we are not going to do the sum. So again, after this for loop becomes, the condition becomes false, we will come out of the for loop, and then we print our final results for the sum of the even numbers, let's say from 2 to 50. So if no question, let's try another one. I think let's try the palindrome. And I think we mentioned this in our previous class. A palindrome means it can be a text or it can be a digit, but when you read it forward or backward, it should be the same. So for example, 424, if I read it forward or backward, it's the same 424. Or mommy, or no, mom, M-O-M. If I read it forward or backward, it's the same M-O-M. So M-O-M is a palindrome text or word. Or it can be a digit, let's say 717. So again, here we are going to ask the user to enter an input. So we import the scanner class again. We have our main class, and we have our main method. So again, this will test a string to see if they are palindrome, ignoring that. So here in this condition, we are going to ignore the case differences. We're also going to ignore spaces and punctuations. So which means if I have the name with 2 or 3 spaces and another person have only 1 spaces, is the same. We don't care about the spaces. Here we are testing the string, so it's not a value, it's a string. So we declare str and str2. The data type is a string. Then we have another variable name, another. The data type also is a string, and we assign y to it. Now we have 2 variables left and right, and they are int. So next we create our scanner object. And here we say while another dot ignores equal case. Yes, this means we allow y or uppercase y. Remember, we talked about the string method here to ignore equals ignore case. Basically, it doesn't matter whether it's uppercase or lowercase, it's the same. Then next, we are going to ask the user to enter the And the test, maybe to be palindrome, maybe not, we are not sure, but here, enter a potential palindrome. We use the next line method because this is a string to enter a string to the str variable. Next, we decided that we want to change everything to lowercase. So we use str dot lowercase to lowercase. Now we talk about object-oriented programming. When we want to use a method that belongs to a class, we always have to start with the class object. So we need to create a class object first. So again, here we make sure we change to lower cases. Then the next is we are going to eliminate the punctuations and also the spaces. So we start the loop from high equal to, we know that in a string, the first index of a string is 0. So if, for example, if I have LO, H position is 0, E is 1, L is 2, another L is 3, etc. So we are using the for loop now to go through the string. So we start from 0, and we say I should be less than the string length. Again, we know the length method will give us the number of characters in the string. That's why here we say less than, because since we are starting from 0, if the characters in the string is 25, then it will be 0 to 24. But actually, the length is 25. So that's why we go less than str.string. So that if it's 25, we go up to 24 cases. So each character from beginning, from 0, we will go through to check if the character dot is letter or digit. The char at gives us the character in I, or at I position. I will be the index. So for example, if it's LO and I'm at I is 0, then it means it will return H. H is the first character in LO word. So anytime we want to extract a character in a string, we can use the char at and the location of the character in the string. I means the index position. So that's why here again we say that if the character dot is letter or digit, again, the word or the string can be a mixture of letters and digits. So we are using this letter or digit. Then this is where our string is. So this will be our string object, str dot char at I, the position. Then next, we say the str dot char at I, we assign it to str2. So str2 equal plus str dot char at I. So after we finish, we assign the str2 to str variable. Then here, we start from the beginning. So the variable left and right tell us the beginning, left to be the beginning of the index of the string, and the right to be at the end. So you can see here we assign 0 to left, and the right to be the length of the string minus 1. Because if the string, again, the size is 25, the index will go up to 24. So we assign the beginning and the end. Now we are going to use the while loop to go through each. Now the goal of this program is to test if the string that we enter, the string can have digit inside, maybe to be CS101. We want to know whether it's palindrome or not. So our goal here now, we have to compare each character. When we reverse 1, and then the other one will be in the right positions. So here now we say, okay, we are starting from 0. That's the beginning. What we do, we compare it with the end. So here we have STR char at right. We are checking if they are equal. Only if the left should be less than right, because if left is equal to right, it means we have only one character. Or if left is greater than right, that's impossible. So the condition here telling us, okay, I have a string. I want to check if from left or from right, if I read both of them, they will be the same. So what we are doing here, we are comparing each character at a time. So I'll compare the STR beginning character and also the ending character. As far as left is less than right, we haven't passed it yet. So what we always do, we will move to the next character. So we're going to increase the left plus plus, but the right is the end. We will come to the left. So when we increase the left, we have to decrease the right. So the characters are we compare one, and we compare to each other until the end. Now here we are saying that if the left is less than the right, then the string is not a palindrome. Else, the string again is palindrome. I'll wait for a few seconds if it's okay. There's a kind of a little bit tricky here, but the whole concept is that a palindrome means you have either, well, in this case, it's a string. The palindrome string means if you read, for example, as we said, mom, M-O-M. If I read it from left or I read it from right, it should be the same. Now we have David. Well, if I read David from left or right, it's not the same. The first character and the last character will be the same. Then we compare the next character. So that will be the second character and the last second character. For David, the second character will be A, but the last second, I think it will be I also, D-A-V-I-D, yeah, it will be I. So when we reach there, this is the code that we check for that. We check the first character if it's equal to the last character. Then we move to the second, left plus plus. Then we move to the last second, right minus minus, then we check. So we keep checking. If we didn't finish and this condition become false, that means it's not a palindrome. Again, we have the AND logical operator here, which means the condition on the left and the right must be true in order for the while loop to execute. And execution here will mean to move to the next character from forward and from backward, right minus minus. Now, if we didn't finish, that means left will be less than right. Because if we didn't finish, maybe I reach the second character, left is 2. The last second, right will be 7. We haven't reached 2 position. So that's the condition here. If left is still less than right, it means we still have some characters that we didn't check. Because they are not the same, we come out of the while loop. So that's why we're going to print that it's not a palindrome. But if this condition is false, that means it's palindrome, which means we went through all the character before we came out. So if again, left is equal or to right, which means we reach the last character, from left to the right, we have reached the last character that is left and it's still equal, left and right equal. So that means we have a palindrome. Then since we are in the while loop, we can also test for another palindrome. Wait for a few seconds if it's okay. Remember, we have the while loop to do our problem. Then also we have a for loop. Okay, so if no question, let's keep going. Maybe one more program then before we leave. Let's select any question. Again, I'm going to post this in the classroom. Okay, so let's try this one. This question says we should find the largest n such that n cube should be less than 12,000. So which means, again, we are going to find, let's say n, if n is 1, 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. If n is 2, 2 times 2 times 2, n cube will be 8. If n is 4, 4 times 4 times 4. So we want to know what n value will give us less than 12,000. We don't want to go more than 12,000. So the best way to solve this is to use the while loop. So the question says use the while loop to find the largest integer n such that n cube is less than 12,000. So again, we have our main class, we have our main method. Here we name our counter variable as I. We initialize I to 1 because we are going to do multiplication. You don't want to initialize I to 0. So we make sure I is 1 from beginning. Now we said that our condition now said that y I cube, which is I times I times I, is less than 12,000. If that is the case, we're going to increment the I. Remember, we said, okay, we got from 1, 1, 1, 1 is 1. Then we move from 2, 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. We move to 3, 3 times 3 times 3, I think is 27. We move to 4, 4 times 4 times 4, 4 cube. So we will do that until the answer will be close to 12,000. Because we say we find the largest n such that n cube is less than 12,000. So this condition again, we will keep going, increment until the condition becomes false. If it's become false, we come out, then we print our result. So this number is I minus 1. Again, the goal is here, I cube either will be greater than or equal to 12,000 or I minus 1 cube should be less than 12,000. Now, if you put it only I cube, you'll see that the answer will be more than 12,000. It will give you like 22 or 23. But let's run the program and see if no question with the code. The whole idea is how to use the while loop. Okay, so let's run this code. First, I'm going to compile it. And then we're going to build it. So the answer will be 22. And surely if you use the calculator, 22 times 22, times 22 times another 22. So the answer will give us 10,648. Now, if we remove the minus, it will give us 23. 23 times 23 times 23. That will give us a little bit over 12,000. So that's why, and if like we can remove it and try and run it, this will give us n equal to 23, but the answer will be wrong. So we need to offset it by 1. So we compile again, then we run it. So this gives you 23. But again, 23 cube is a little bit over 12,000. So I'm going to wait for a few seconds if any question. Okay, so if no question, then we're going to end the lectures here. And I'm going to post this